Ahoy sailors, First Mate Steph here, and welcome back to the Weekly Helm Report, where I navigate the latest headlines, portside gossip, and onboard buzz for you from across the cruise world. So whether you're a seasoned sailor or just dreaming of your first embarkation, today's episode is packed with updates that will have you rechecking your itineraries and refreshing your drinks. So let's get started. First up, we're going to do Royal Caribbean this week, so they had a heck of a week. So the Star of the Seas, the world's largest cruise ship, has debuted at Port Carnival. It's absolutely massive. So it showed up this week and it will be taking its inaugural cruise on August 31st. They also debuted a new feature on their app allowing parents to track their kids in real time. This costs $14.99. You're able to track them across the boat, so that's a pretty cool thing. I don't have kids that I have to track, but it is really cool and I think it'll be really helpful, and I think we'll see other cruise lines start picking up on that. There also was a brawl at CocoCay, so a fight broke out on the private island. So it was a wedding party at the main lagoon, so the incident led to pool closures and renewed calls for stricter passenger behavior policies. I can't tell you the last time I heard about a brawl on Royal Caribbean, so that's pretty crazy to me. And then the news everybody heard of, the Icon of the Seas. So there definitely was major headlines when an acrylic water slide broke this week, cutting somebody and closing it for an undetermined amount of time. Good news, passenger is in stable condition and is being treated for their injury. And we'll see what comes from that. I don't know if we'll see some like safety reviews or anything like that. Royal Caribbean hasn't really commented anything on it or anything about the guest, but it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that, because it had a lot of people on the internet talking about, the contract that you sign when you actually, your ticket contract and your liability forms that you sign when you do the water slides. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that comes out, because a lot of people thought, oh, this person's going to be able to retire now. But then a lot of people were, read your ticket contract, because there's a lot of liability that Royal Caribbean or any cruise line doesn't take. They're not liable for your actions. So that'll be pretty interesting to see what comes of that. I'm very happy to hear that the passenger is in stable condition and was treated. Thankfully, they did not fall through. They just got cut. So, cut probably pretty badly. But like I said, there hasn't been a lot of information. Another thing that they did is that, back in the day, you used to be able to, if you had to get a drink package, everybody had to buy it, but you could generally try and call and talk to one of the guest services people and say, hey, my wife is pregnant, or she can't drink due to medical reasons. I have a doctor's note. And they would say, okay, well, you can purchase a drink package and she needs to purchase a soda package. They have tightened down on that, and they have ended all exemptions for the deluxe beverage package. So if one adult in the guest room buys it, all adults must purchase it now. There is no opting out for a cheaper soda or refreshment package as a workaround. It is, if one has it, the rest has it. So kind of sucks. I know that for us, Captain Dan he drinks, I don't, so a lot of times drink packages are kind of lost on me, and it's not really worth it in the end for two people to buy it. So we'll see what comes from that. And finally, for Royal Caribbean, and this is something that I think we'll see across the board, is that due to new Bahamian law, only guests 18 and older can now drive jet skis. So previously the age was 16. Now younger guests can ride as passengers. They are just not allowed to drive any of the jet skis. So I think that'll be something, because it's Bahamian law, that we will see across the board. But that being said, we're going to move over to Norwegian. So Norwegian, this was a heavy week. It was a lot this week. There was a lot of news that came out. But so Norwegian, they had some major itinerary shakeups on the Norwegian Escape. So the January 2026 sailing from New Orleans had every port day changed, and Costa Maya was removed entirely due to port availability. And embarkation time was moved up by 90 minutes. So, imagine that you have this cruise booked for a while. A lot of people, it's almost coming up to final payment date on that. So you have this cruise booked for a while, and now your embarkation times are gonna be moved up 90 minutes. That can affect a lot of travel plans. So pay attention to your cruises that you're on. Pay attention to make sure any news is coming out about them. You should get emails theoretically, but just, keep an eye on that. Moving on. So on the Pride of America, that is on the Hawaiian sailing. So that's the Pride of America sails through Hawaii. Bottled water is no longer included in the beverage packages. They guests must now use the onboard water dispensers or purchase the bottled water separately. So if you get a beverage package, it does not include bottled water, which is interesting to me and kind of crazy. But, you know, hydrate or dihydrate. So we'll see how long that sticks around. The two Jewel class ships will receive adult-only vibe beach clubs during upcoming dry docks. So this is going to be it's a pretty popular venue as it is, but it offers a quieter, more upscale retreat for guests. And again, it's adult only, so really love that. I love when they enforce adult-only areas because I don't have kids of my own. I mean, I have one, but she's older, so she doesn't count. But it just, no. It's a no. I don't want to be around kids on vacation, let alone other people's kids. Norwegian has issued health advisory for guests traveling to Italy, urging precautions against mosquito-borne illnesses because it is rising cases are happening. So if you're traveling, carry bug spray. Keep an eye out on it. There's wipes now. There are bracelets you can buy to keep mosquitoes away. There's a lot going on. And then on top of that guests that are sailing in Spain, Italy, and U.S. waters may see added costs for food, drinks, and retail purchases, so Norwegian is warning guests to budget accordingly to this. So keep an eye out on that in case you are on a Norwegian cruise. So we're going to sail on over to Carnival, and they, again, like I said, it was a very heavy week. There was a lot going on. So there was a brawl that broke out. A brawl broke out among 13 passengers outside the Long Beach cruise terminal as a Carnival boat was docked. The fight involved punches, torn clothing, and hair pulling. There was no injuries reported, and Carnival has not issued a public statement about this. So it wasn't on their boat, but it was in their cruise terminal. So it's crazy to either start or end a fight with a brawl. It's just vacation. If you don't like the people you're going with, don't go with them. Like, it's a big boat. It's whatever. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyways, moving on. So the FB, there was a big news that there on the Carnival Dream, there was a male passenger who was found unresponsive in a cabana in the adults only area of the Serenity deck. The FBI is now investigating the incident. Carnival has stated it was not suspicious and they followed standard protocol. There is a lot of speculation on the internet. I've read about this, that the man had just won a bunch of money in the casino and there was a lady who he was hanging out with. It wasn't his wife, but it was like another lady who he was hanging out with. And like, it's questionable if like maybe she did something because she was the last one with him. There's cameras and stuff, but not in the cabana. I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see what comes from this. But there, the internet runs wild with theories. So, a lot of people are thinking that it is suspicious and something happened because he had just won a bunch of money in the casino. And I think that's where the real suspicious part comes from. But we'll see. They have also, on Celebration Key, they have tweaked their dining hours. And they, based on guest feedback, so some sailings will have extended or shifted meal times just to better match the port schedule. So, if you show up late, they're gonna skip breakfast and go to lunch, basically. So, and last but not least on Carnival, this one really, it made me laugh when I was reading about it. I was reading about it on Reddit, watched a couple of YouTube videos on it, but Buttergate. So this debate is back. It makes me laugh, but there is a very heated debate online about the availability of real butter versus margarine on board. So a lot of people, they want real butter. Some people like margarine. So I'm a real butter person. If I'm going to use it, just let me have the real stuff. But it's a big debate on the internet about what they're going to, what they have on board. And I think that's hilarious. So now moving over to Virgin, again, like I said, it was a really busy week this week. I haven't seen a busy week like this in a while, and I'm kind of loving that. Not for like the bad news, but like for like just all the cool different news. So on Virgin, the Brilliant Lady has hosted its exclusive New York City event. So they held a sailing club launch party out of New York City aboard the Brilliant Lady. It was featuring dinner and Scarlet Night and entertainment and drone shows, and it celebrated loyal cruisers and teased some upcoming itineraries. Again, Brilliant Lady, if you have a chance to get on it, totally do. It's going to be a beautiful ship. The Scarlet Lady has completed its first ever Iceland visit, so it made inaugural calls at a bunch of places I can't pronounce except for Reykjavik. I might have even screwed that one up, but it is part of its new England to Iceland to Norway itinerary. So they guests have praised the scenic fjord and cultural excursions. So I know they're doing some next year for the eclipse, and you're going to be in total darkness, and it's in that area, and it looks awesome, and I really would love to do it. I just have to see what we have going on. But anyways, Virgin has introduced the new 2025 to 2026 happening cast for the Valiant Lady. So that includes your performers, your host, wellness guides. So if you haven't been a Virgin, they don't do a cruise director. They have their happenings cast. It's pretty great. So we have had great interactions. You know, I know like the Valiant Lady right now has Shelby the artist and Magic Mike and I don't remember the Flair's name, but she was awesome. She did our trivia. So they have people who have different little specialties, and it's great. It's a blast. All of them are super friendly, and it's great. So anyways, I could rant about Virgin all day. So they're also, Virgin does not generally do room keys. They have these wearable bands that you get when you check in. They are made of recyclable plastic that they take out of the ocean. And you can recycle them when you're done, or you can always bring them back and use them on later cruises. So they are launching new slimline wearable bands for guests. So it's going to start with the Scarlet Lady, and it's the same as your cruise card. So they offer your cabin access, onboard purchases, and event check-ins. You just scan a little gray bit on it. So I'm pretty excited to see what they come out with, because I do like the Virgin bands as they are. I have three of them. So, and then Disney, Disney, the Disney Destiny, which is their third Wish class ship, floated out of the shipyard in Germany on August 9th. So that was yesterday. So again, I've talked about that one. That is themed around heroes and villains, specifically like your Marvel stuff. So that will debut from Fort Lauderdale on November 20th, and it'll make Disney's first ship launch from outside of Port Canaveral. The rest of their ships have come out of Port Canaveral, and this one's going to come out of Fort Lauderdale. I haven't been to that port in a long time, but I will be there in a month and 2 days. So on the Disney Dream, actually. So, and they have begun construction on their fourth Wish class ship. So they held a steel cutting ceremony on August 8th. And it is expected to launch in 2027. Captain Mickey helped kick off the build, continuing Disney's expansion towards a 13-ship fleet by 2031. That's pretty crazy. But then you think about all the other ones, and they have a lot of ships. So I guess it's maybe not that crazy. The Disney Adventure, which is Disney's largest ship yet, will begin sailing from Singapore. They won't be singing. I guess they're singing on board, but it will begin sailing from Singapore in December, and it'll accommodate approximately up to 7,000 guests. That's a lot of people. This will mark Disney's first major push into Asia with their cruise line, with future plans for Japan-based cruises in 2029. And finally, Castaway Cay Cabana bookings have opened. So bookings for the new Mickey and Minnie Cove cabanas at Castaway Cay have opened for sailing starting on December 5th. These premium cabanas offer upgraded amenities and exclusive beach access. So, it's a really cool new island. So they're just upgrading it constantly, and get your cabanas if you're going to be there, if you want that. So and then last but not least for the cruise lines is MSC. So again, there was a lot this week. This is a long weekly Helm report. But MSC, the Meraviglia, I just saw this today and I thought it was pretty interesting. They have pulled out of New York. So MSC has canceled 5 months of sailing from New York for the winter of 26-27, so next year. And the Meraviglia will now home port in Miami, joining the World America, the Poesia, and the Seaside at the new Port of Miami terminal. And the affected guests were offered rebooking options, future cruise credits, or full refunds. I am curious to see if this means that MSC is just not going to sail from New York. I think that maybe, personally, because they're still kind of building their name here, they've kind of got a hold in Port Canaveral and Miami. They're known, and they're trying to get a foothold in Galveston with the Seascape. but I don't know if maybe New York just didn't work out. I mean, I'm curious to see if that means that they're done with trying to port from New York, or maybe, I don't know if there's like really high taxes or something. So there will be more information on that, but I'm pretty interested to see how that's going to work out. They also had some drink package changes this week, much like Royal Caribbean. So they discontinued their Easy Plus drink package, and as of August 1st. So guess who had already purchased it will still receive its benefits. And then the remaining drink packages are going to be the premium extra. So this is all drinks up to $16, and alcohol free. So that's going to be your soda, your coffee, your water, and then a minors package. So that's going to be your soda, coffee, and water. I guess the alcohol free would also include mocktails. I forget about those. So we'll see how that plays out for them. I mean, they used to have like 4 or 5 levels of drink package. They had one that was like $9, one that was $12, one that was $16, and you just had your soda package and your minor package. So it makes sense they're gonna lead it out and cut it out. So, and then finally for them, they have a fleet expansion. So MSC has doubled down on its U.S. presence with 4 ships sailing out of Miami in the winter of 2026-2027. And new itineraries are going to include stops in Grand Turk, St. Martin, St. Kitts, Puerto Plata, and MSC's private island of Ocean Cay. So that's pretty awesome. I have not had the luxury of going to Grand Turk or St. Kitts. I do go to Puerto Plata next month, and I'm pretty excited about that. So that is all of the cruise updates for this week. It was a lot. There was a lot this week, but I don't want to leave you guys without a cruise tip. So if you only follow one piece of advice before embarkation, arrive at your departure port at least 1 day early if you're traveling there. I live near Port Canaveral. I'm not going to get there a day early. I live 45 minutes. But if you are flying, if you have an extended drive, if you are taking a train, however you are getting there, if it is not within like 2 to 3 hours, get there a day early. And like, even if it is 2 to 3 hours, like we're going out of Fort Lauderdale, which is 2 hours away, and we are going to stay overnight the night before. So if you are cruising internationally, so if you are flying from America over to Europe, you should get there 2 to 3 days early, just in case if there are any airline issues, because it's the airlines. So always don't plan to get there the morning of and expect to get on your boat immediately if you're flying internationally. Get there a day or two ahead of time, enjoy the sights for a day, but you want to make sure that you are prepared for any flight delays, traffic jams, or unexpected hiccups that could derail your plans. And cruise ships, they don't wait for you. So arriving early not only ensures you won't miss the ship, but gives you time to recover from jet lag and start your vacation relaxed and ready. And that is a wrap on this week's voyage through the cruise headlines, onboard updates, and portside pivots. So whether you're planning your next escape or just sailing along with us from the shore, we're glad you dropped anchor here at Tales from the Ship. Big thank you to our sponsor, Starboard and Sunshine Vacations, where we take the mess and the stress so you can just enjoy your vacation. And don't forget to tune in every Monday morning for the Weekly Helm Report from Tales from the Ship podcast, where we chart the latest course in cruise news, tips, and tales from across the fleet. Until next time, calm seas and clear skies.